Right. So Murtala is here.
Yes.
We call him Captain, and he'll be bringing us updates from the court. Murtala, on that, I want to hear your thoughts on
Yes,
my question.
it is not. You notice that just recently, last week Sunday, during the Martyrs' Day service, the president of the GBA made a call. He said, "No, there's nobody trained as NDC judge, MP judge, or CSPP judge. So if anybody is making that call, let's leave the judiciary. Well, we know that they are trained as people who are of integrity, who are neutral arbiters and all that. So that is what we do know. There's nobody trained NDC. And that conversation is something that will come up for more scrutiny in the coming days and all that. But it's quite interesting if there will be a call for NDC judges. Then which case will go to them? You get it? Because which case will go to them? So some of these things, well, we'll see how it pans out, and then we'll see how it develops in the coming day. But it will be very, very suicidal if we should have NDC judges and PP judges known. So how would the paneling be done?
So if they aren't, why does the NDC keep saying that, you know, Akufo-Addo has packed the court, the bench with, you know, MPP inclined judges?
Well, it depends on what you are looking at and the kind of perception out there. And you notice that it's been said that once the president is the one who is currently in position, he is the president. And once the opportunity comes for him to appoint, he will definitely appoint somebody that is you feel that you are comfortable with and all that. But of course, the judiciary should not be an institution or an arm of government that should be
politicized in that manner. Absolutely. Anyway, what do you have for us today?
Yes, so I'm taking you back to Friday, and I was wondering, I didn't see you there on Friday.
Oh, the gender equality
absolutely
campaign.
There was a forum to champion women.
Was Lily there?
Lily was not there.
Oh,
well, but she's an aspiring.
Nadede was also not there.
But Lily is the agenda woman. So if Lily wasn't there, who am I?
But if Lily was not there, you were supposed to be.
Trust me, because in EIB, it's either Lily or Nadede for gender prosperity issues. I will be in the
background.
But you know, for this particular one, it's for women lawyers. We are asking for more women in the
leadership positions and all that. So you notice that when the event came on, we are close to about 150 guests, lawyers, retired judges, law students, and of course members of the judiciary and all that. So this exercise was very, very interesting. In fact, it was organized by the Institute of African Women in Law. So the name, as it were, justified itself. African Women in Law. So basically tailored to empower women. And of course, the Chief Justice, when she was speaking, she made mention of how the judiciary, as we speak, especially in the last 4 years, it's been taken over by women judges. So the women are now becoming more and more in the judiciary. But let's go and see what the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo has been saying in relation to how the judiciary is gradually being feminized.
There's a significantly increasing representation of women in Ghana's judiciary. The past 4 years have seen a very definite shift in the number of judges and magistrates in the judiciary. In 2019, the numbers of women judges stood at 138. This number had increased to by more than 100 by the 2022-2023 legal year. In the 2022-2023 legal year, the judiciary recorded a total of 218 females, signifying an increase of approximately 58% in the numbers of women who joined the judiciary within that 4-year period. While there are still more male judges and magistrates than women, the overall rate of increase of men in the judiciary in that same period was 8%, a much lower figure than the increase in women. So Ghana's judiciary is fast and strongly getting feminized, and more women are driving the administration of justice.
All right, so
Yes, so Chief Justice is saying that gradually the judiciary is strongly being feminized because the women are becoming more and more, or are being appointed into onto the bench. So Serwaa, very soon probably we'll see you there, because you're also a lady and all that. So one person who has also been speaking is the founder and executive director of Institute of African Women in Law, Dr. Japa Dawin. Let's hear what is in the. She's actually placing the call.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say Dr. Japa.
The name is Japa. Japa Dawin. Okay. She's making a call for the Ghana Bar Association, in fact, the future leaders, to make sure that they prioritize women in leadership positions. Let's hear Dr. Japa Dawin.
The point I want to take across is that women are not asking for special favors. Women can do it, as we know, but we just need to create a right environment. The Bar Association is critical to law, justice, and women's rights, and we have to start from home. If we cannot keep our home straight, how can we do it for outside and for other people? So that is the call.
Yeah, so we don't ask for special favors. So in some instances, when it is necessary to ask for those favors, we will ask, but give us these authorities or give us these roles on merit.
On merit.
I know.
I was asking one of the I was asking one of the lawyers, when are we going to see that of the men? Probably you can put something together. Every day we are championing women, we are engendering, we are empowering
because
women.
Society naturally favors men
It's
in many circumstances. Trust me, I am of the view that men do go through a lot too.
Very, very.
That I agree, but generally, some of the things that we women go through, you men do worse or the same, but nobody subjects you to that kind of scrutiny. And, you know, those are the things that we mean when we, you know, people like Lily and Nadi.
Well, quite recently.
And Alice.
Oh, how did I even forget that? Push for, you know, gender equality. But yeah, it's, I get you. The men, but who is stopping you though?
Thank you.
Every time you say, we women get up and organize our own thing. Why can't you also organize yours?
If you go into it, you realize that even the men who are even sponsoring all these things.
That's not absolutely true.
Most of the time.
No, not most of the time.
You
are telling me that the chief did you see that you were there?
Yeah.
You saw the Chief Justice. You saw Madam Japa. You saw Sheila Menka-Premo.
No, they are strong people.
Of course, they don't need. They don't particularly.
Absolutely, they are people
Thank
that.
you very much.
When you mention them,
At least today, Serwaa has joined the gender train.
But let's hear from Professor Margaret Satterwhite. She is the UN Special Rapporteur on independent judges and lawyers. Let's hear what she has been saying.
Of women at the top echelons of the legal profession. I think that this shows that concerted effort really pays off and that women can make it to the top.
Okay.
So that is the UN
Special rapporteur.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she was commending the judiciary for the increases in numbers and all that. But the one person that you just mentioned, Sheila Menka,
I totally love her.
Very strong woman.
Very intelligent.
And she's the president of Ghana Bar Association Women Forum. Let's hear what she has been saying.
Call on law firms in Ghana and the Ghana Bar Association to provide mechanisms to address the issues of some of the issues I mentioned, sexual harassment and all the other forms of discrimination that women suffer at the bar. And this, we believe, can be done by adopting the model gender equality policy that the Institute for African Women in Law will be unveiling to us. I believe that we should consider adopting it for the profession in Ghana, and we would also entreat law firms in Ghana to adopt and implement this policy.
So that is
Sheila Menka-Premo.
Absolutely. And her call was simple. Issue of sexual harassment should be. The women are suffering most of the time. So I asked the question, do you have statistics of some of these women who have faced, has somebody been taken, subjected to the laws of the. As of now, we do not have that statistic, but there are reports that it does happen inside there. So,
and you know, you would think that at a certain level, as a woman, you're free from some of these
Right,
sexual
it's not.
harassment. No.
The higher you climb, the higher you travel.
Anyway, what's coming up in court today? This Kaswa ritual murder. When is the judgment? Because
Serwaa,
I am very
Jurors
interested.
are on strike.
that's the big question. And as I talk to you now, today is supposed to be today will be the third time that is being deferred, and the chances are that it won't happen. So yesterday I was having a conversation with some of the jurors, and it is clear that they are not coming. Sometime last week.
Why? They're on strike.
They are on strike because of unpaid allowances. Sometime last week, out of the 10 months, they have received 4 months. But not all of them. Some of them. And you know that when you are empaneling the jury, 7 at a time, if one person is absent, no show. And they are saying that some of them have received the 4 months, and not all of them. So even deciding to call off the strike, they have betrayed the others who have not received. And they can, as leaders, they cannot behave that way. So the point is that they are not coming until they receive their. So the chances are that this very case, the Kaswa ritual murder case, involving 2 teenagers, the court presided over by Justice Lydia Osemapo, is expected to sum up the trial today. It won't happen. That is how all that. But of course, it will be called and we'll hear what the judge will say in relation to that. So that is one of the cases that we expect coming on today at the court today.
And then the case with the highest number of witnesses, Beige Bank.
Beige Bank. So witness number 17
Done?
Yes, it's done. So we are expecting 18 today before Justice Serwaa Saribochwe, Justice of the Court of Appeal, who is sitting as an additional High Court judge.
Favorites.
Absolutely.
Same.
So that case will come up in the afternoon at 12 o'clock, and we'll see what will happen. What the 18th witness will be telling the court by way of charges that Mr. Nineku is facing regarding the collapse of Beige Bank.
Kukubot?
Yes, Dr. Stephen Komno-Puni, Seidu Agongo, and then his company, Agricourt Ghana Limited. They are in court today. What we do expect is for the safe defense witness for Seidu Agongo and Agricourt Ghana Limited to come and continue with the testimony before Justice Abuaje Sando. And so we'll know more about it. But what is clear is that Dr. Opuni is done with this case. It's called 10 witnesses. Prosecution already closed their case before the court found out the fact that there is a prima facie. And so Seidu Agongo and Agricourt are now calling their witness. And today, the safe will continue his testimony today.
The side chick case.
Lantam's
favorite.
So the issue of the vehicle is still an issue.
The issue of the vehicle.
The vehicle is still
in contention.
Yes, it has been parked at the court. Nobody is using it. So one of the things that happened was
Can't they
when
just hand it over to this lady? That's what she wants. But anyway,
So
the
she
law
wants
beats
the-
common.
she wants the car.
Yes,
The car,
the law
of
beats
course.
common sense. So.
But what is happening now is that the lawyers are challenging how the police went to
Retrieve the
her
car.
home. No, not her home, to even because when the court made the order, they have to go and serve her with the process.
Right.
They are questioning the time that the police went there. They said they went there at an ungodly hour after 6 p.m. and all that.
Okay.
So the court subpoenaed. In fact, they subpoenaed the police, and now the investigator who dealt with some of the aspect of the case was in court. Her lawyers have cross-examined him, and now it is the turn of lawyers of NS Kwesini Mako to also subject him because the witness is a court witness because he was by way of a subpoena. So now they also cross-examine him to get answers from some of the things that lawyers of Deborah Sarah Madabla are trying to push across. So
let me. I want to understand this. The current case in court is about the car.
It's about the car and then circumstances,
Circumstances that led to the
leading
retrieval
absolutely
of the car.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
What car is it again?
It's a Honda Civic.
Honda Civic.
a white Honda Civic.
Okay.
So that is the issue. There's the main issue in contention. And of course, there's an application pending for contempt. You notice at the point in time, the court made an order that none of the parties should publish anything about this case until the final determination of the case. And then when the police officers went there to retrieve the cash on her IG pages, it was
She
all
put
over.
it there.
So,
But whose name is the car registered in?
so the car is registered in the name of NS Kwesini Mako.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's. Thank you very much, Mutala,
Thank you
for bringing us these updates. God willing, we'll meet here
Absolutely.
tomorrow.
I like the energy on this Monday morning.
Let's now bring you what's on the papers. So we're starting off with Daily Guide and
Your friend
the front page, Chef Smith cooks Guinness World Record certificate. Apt. Natoshi rallies NPP for Baumia Napo tickets. And there she is, beautiful woman, happens to be my friend and my client as well. So yeah, she was one of the people who were being tipped for the running mate position of the NPP. So it's nice to see that she's rallying the NPP for Baumia and Napo. Tomorrow in the Ashanti region, the running mates will be outdoored to the vote bank of the NPP. We'll see how that goes. The AG and the GBA back CJ's request. Okay. And I'm sure that you all know the request that we're talking about. We've been talking about it all week.
5 more to do more.
5. Okay, let's move on to the next.
We move on to the new crusading guide. It says, commit to continent-wide interoperable payment system. Experts tell African leaders. And I think that this is a good call. Because if you are in Nigeria and want to send money to Ghana, you don't need to go through the bank. You can just use mobile money. So it's a good call. Adamus Australia responds to Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. That's also on the front page. The CRM creating more in... Okay, so that's cylinder recirculation model, creating more investment opportunities and jobs. That's according to the NPA boss, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid. Ghanaians must believe in Baumia Napo ticket. Doma East NP saying PNDC goes in dogfight with ex-auditor general as General Mosquito seeks life support services from Kwame Nahoy, who is a member of SWL CVC. Dakwa Newman shakes Kaneshi market. That's it for the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Let's move on.
The Chronicle newspaper, Irene Natoshi, we must all respect Baumia's choice. And yeah, cutting down youth unemployment, GIS, fire, service, the police, and NACOP to recruit 11,000 personnel, and recruitment starts this week. And here's a breakdown of the recruitment numbers. Immigration is set to take 3,000, the police 4,000, fire service 2,000, prisons 1,500, and NACOP 500. Okay, so please, we need to see the application so that, you know, we can... yeah, precisely.
Let's scrutinize. So let's have a better appreciation of the process. We don't want any...
There's a Bible verse in the Chronicle, but I can't see it, so... Okay, today's Bible verse, I think it's from Galatians, or is it Colossians?
Yeah.
Galatians 6 verses 10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. The Chronicle is always...
The Daily Dispatch says the Baumia Opoku Prempeh ticket will win 2024 elections. That's according to the president. I am deeply honored to be running mate. Opoku Prempeh is saying top Alan K8 predicts Alan and Mahama will head to a runoff in December 7 elections. Okay, that's an interesting one. All right, so that's it for the newspapers. When we come back, we do a postmortem of what the flag bearer of the largest opposition party, the NDC, is saying. He says, like I said, he wields the magic wand to reset the economy. So,
and you know, there's some things that he said. He gave some 5 special reasons why he has to be voted back into power.
And he
says that he's coming. It's one of the things that he keeps hammering on, that he has the experience. He reiterates his commitment to the fight against corruption. He said that, you know, as part of that commitment, he's not going to scrap the office of the special prosecutor because...
And it was profound, I mean, hearing that, you know, yeah.
And there was a question also on the National Cathedral, and he said that, you know, as a member of the Assemblies of God Church, he had contributed in diverse ways to help the church build its new edifice. But what he does not support is stealing in the name of God. And so that clearly shows that the former president believes that some evil or theft is being perpetrated against the people of Ghana. Well,
and he says, well, now I am no longer the father for all. I've exercised myself of the father for all figure. And so he will prosecute persons who are found to be culpable of corruption and corruption-related activities here in the country. So, Serwaa will sit with the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pampam.
Who was there. He was also there. You know, one of the things that Mahama said was that he's not going to allow his appointees to buy any state property. Anyway, we'll get into the details of that. Stay with us. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere and
Lily Mohammed. We are back shortly.
This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere, and on the breakfast review today, we are dissecting the former president John Dramani Mahama's media engagements, which happened yesterday, and I'm sitting with Samuel Nete George. He is the Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, who was present at the media engagements yesterday, of which I was present as well. Sam George, good morning. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We all left the place very late.
This is the first time I'm here this year, so good morning.
This year? This year? Oh, wow. Oh, then thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Happy New Year to you too, Sam George. So let's, we're definitely going to talk about the NPP before we wrap up the conversation at some point. But you were there, generally. How did it go?
Let me say a very good morning to our viewers. And before I jump into this, so that I don't forget, let me just say and wish all BC candidates in the Ningo Prampram constituency and across the country all the very best. As they ride their BC, I pray that God grants them retentive memory, and we wish them well. I'll be visiting some of the centers in the constituency later today. Yesterday's Mahama Conversations was the first in a number of similar engagements that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be engaging in, without prejudice to one-on-one interviews that he will have. But this was his way of being open and transparent and being accountable to the fourth estate of the realm. And this is not something that's new when it comes to John Dramani Mahama. He's always been one who's had an open door policy to the media, even when he was vice president and when he became president and throughout his time as leader of the opposition. And so yesterday's engagement was a good one. He allowed for him to lay out his roadmap. He allowed for him to, first and foremost, make a statement on something that nobody in government is speaking about and something that Mahmoud Bawumia is afraid to talk about: corruption and the fight against corruption. He also allowed him to speak about the tattered state of our economy and the despair that young people are feeling at this point in time. He showed the leadership that we do not see from those in government today and those who seek to lead the state from the NPP. He showed that leadership by speaking to the young people of our country and saying to them that I feel your pain, I feel your struggle, I know there is despair, but trust me, there is some hope on the horizon. And that hope is in voting for John Mahama on the 7th of December. Because the young people of our country are not different from the young people of Kenya. And the despondence. Look, the young people of Kenya demonstrated and shut down their Kenyan economy because their president took one private jet trip. Our president buffs in the air. I mean, he's done at the last count, over 40 private jet trips, you know, and so let's not underestimate the anger. That's the pent-up anger. And John gave them hope. He gave them assurance that, look, we're not all the same. That rhetoric of they are all the same is the NPP's way of trying to level and equal the mud in which they find themselves. Mm-hmm. We're not all the same. We're different from them. And I think John did that. And then John gave the 5 reasons why he can be trusted to turn the doldrums around. But what is very instructive for me, one of the things he said is that success or victories in our DNA as Ghanaian people. And for me, that for me resonated so much with me because, in fact, he said victory is in our DNA and I know we can overcome the difficulties. For me, when he made those comments yesterday, it resonated with me because as a Ghanaian, one of the things that I've always said is Ghanaians are magicians. We always find a way. It's our victorious spirit. Even in the most difficult circumstances, we find a way to laugh about it and turn the tide. And that's what he said, that, look, we're going to turn around the tides. And let me just look for that quote, because he said something about tides, which is good. He said, fellow Ghanaians, notwithstanding these challenges, I am imbued with optimism and a steadfast belief in God, in my God Almighty, and the amazing creativity of Ghanaians to assure you tonight that together we shall turn this tide. We shall turn this government's destructive tide into positive and progressive waves that will reverberate in every home and corner of our country and across the globe, demonstrating that Ghana has once again gotten back on track. We need to set this country aright. We need to reset Ghana. We need to put this country to work again. We need to make Ghana productive again. We need to harness the creativity of our young people. And this government has lost its onions. They've lost their bearings. They've sidetracked. They are in free fall. I mean, we're on autopilot. There is no leadership, absolutely no leadership showing from any part of the current executive. And we need a tried and trusted hand like John Dramani Mahama.
I want us to zoom into the various sectors that he touched on and the questions that came from there. He talked about the 24-hour economy. He talked about the free senior high school, talked about the Supreme Court. Those are questions that I asked him, which I didn't think that it was satisfactorily answered. But since you're here, you probably will go over that for me again. Let's start with the 24-hour economy.
Your question or which one?
My question. But we're starting with the 24-hour economy.
Okay. I'm sure we can handle all of them. Yes.
And dream with you to look beyond the present and dream with me of a reset Ghana. The Ghana we all want, where your talents and hard work will determine your success. I promise a Ghana where you are not sidelined, but at the forefront of change, where you can live happy lives and still achieve your optimum potential. This is not just a promise, it's a commitment. I will reset the economy and Ghana will be open for business for 24 hours a day. Leadership is about vision, and the 24-hour economy is the vision to create decent and well-paying jobs. When I talk about a 24-hour economy, we need to understand the underlying vision behind that policy. The 24-hour economy is the means to an end, and the end is putting Ghana on a solid foundation for accelerated growth and development. We need to attain the growth rhythm that will turn our country into a developed economy and eliminate the abject levels of poverty we are witnessing today. An economy that will manufacture many of its needs, including food and beverages, drugs, clothing, and more, such that we can address the exchange rate volatilities due to needless imports. The world is moving very fast. We need to keep up with this new rhythm. So first, think of the 24-hour economy as an accelerator, the best accelerator or catalyst we could possibly have. A 24-hour economy will increase the production and distribution of goods and services and accelerate the economic exchanges between people and companies. And with that, we will start growing at an unprecedented pace while providing decent jobs for our young people. As I've said, leadership is about vision, and I stand by it. But leadership is also about caring. It's about giving people genuine, solid hope. And this is what the 24-hour economy is really about. And let me explain further. The 24-hour economy is a solid way to replace imports with homegrown production of goods, and thus create a solid base for a vibrant Ghanaian industry. In many instances, We don't import goods because they are better than what we produce. We import them because nobody produces them here in Ghana in the first place, or because our local production is insufficient. Therefore, the stimulus packages for companies wanting to participate in the 24-hour economy will convince businesses, and I'm sure of it, to start producing import substitute. And do you know why? Because the market for such products already exists.
Right, so that's former President John Dramani Mahama speaking on the 24-hour economy. One of the flagship policies of the NDC, should they come into power after the December 7, 2024 elections. But Sam, there are many, I'm sure that you guys have heard these arguments that in some sectors, we're already seeing the 24-hour economy. And it's not probably like a well thought through policy. How do you respond to that? Because the former president yesterday, and as he has said many times, that this is something that will even provide more jobs. But you hear the opposition NPP say that there, for instance, there are pharmacies that some which are operating for 24 hours. There are some industries that are operating 24 hours. So this is really not a game changer.
Okay, so the mind or the mouth is only able to articulate what the mind can conceptualize. So if something is beyond your understanding, it looks like it's impossible. Okay. And so should it not strike you as interesting that the very guys whose slogan is "it is possible" claim something is not possible? It tells you that they don't even believe in the possibility that they speak about. Look, the 24-hour economy is a very well thought through program. I've sat in meetings where the deliberations on the 24-hour economy have run as late as 3 a.m. Meetings that started at 5 p.m. because there's a full implementation plan. You see, the NPP is using their Mackin scheme to think about to think that everyone is like them. Remember when Nanado was asked as candidate Akufo-Addo on his free SHS policy? He didn't have a cost for it. He didn't have a plan for it. Till today, we don't have a free SHS implementation plan as we speak. It's an ad hoc. It's been ad hoc implementation. It's been Yenkonkwa as we go for Kobo. That's basically what they're doing. And they think everyone is like them. We're not like that. We have a detailed document. And President Mahama was clear yesterday that, look, this 24-hour economy is already anchored in our 40-year development plan that we developed as NDP, under the NDC, under John Mahama, at the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission. So there is already a policy document. We've fleshed it out, and we have an implementation plan for the 24-hour economy. Look, the 24-hour economy is not supposed to be an all-sector, all-encompassing policy where people are saying, oh, are you going to go to farm at night? I've heard all of those ridicules, and I mean, those light-hearted jokes. But look,
so it's not for every sector of the economy.
We've been clear about that. Not every sector of your economy can run 24 hours. Even in the industrialized world, not every sector runs 24 hours. But you see, yes, there may be one or two sprinkling of business entities that have made a conscious self-made decision to engage in a 24-hour shift economy. And it tells you that means it is possible. If private sector persons are able to take that decision on their own, then it means that if government decides to then give impetus to it, we can actually see more. And then you can then imagine the ripple effects. Now, I'll give you a typical example. A pharmacy I use, and forgive me, I may end up doing advertisement for them, is Top Up Pharmacy in Osu. One of the reasons why I use them is not just the quality of the drugs, but the fact that at any time of the day, I could drive to Top Up Pharmacy at Osu and get the medication I want. But one thing I'm very minded about is it's not the same people who are there in the morning who are there in the evening. It means that pharmacy is employing at least 2 or 3 streams of workers. So it then means that the same business has created more employment because they ran 24 hours. If that pharmacy was closing at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. like many other pharmacies, they would not be employing another stream of workers. So it then means that we have a clear example that private businesses that do this employ more. Now, if government decides that this is going to become a government policy, and what we have to do is now make sure that everyone who is running a 24-hour running on a 24-hour policy gets a certain government impetus, like tax incentives. So you run a 24-hour economy policy in your business, you're going to get certain tax breaks and tax credits. Okay, now that is something that does not exist today. That is something that other businesses who are not engaged in will want to get on board. Because, Serwaa, if you were, for example, if you were producing hair locally, if Amihere started its own hair production company in Ghana and was producing hair, and there was another company producing hair that had gone onto the 24-hour economy policy, and we're running 24 hours, and we're getting tax credits, tax holidays, and tax rebates, and Amihere was not, it automatically puts you at a competitive disadvantage. So the impetus is for you to get on board, because those tax credits will drop your cost of production as well.
Right.
So it's important that we give other businesses an incentive to come on board. Now, another thing is that for businesses, it's cost of power. When you talk to any business in Ghana, be they salons, be they restaurants, be they whatever it is, any business that runs on power, that runs on electricity, will tell you that power, the cost of power, is one of the major cost items in their running of business. Now, when you get on board the 24-hour policy, we've indicated, and that's why I said, if you look at the implementation plan, there are going to be specialized tariffs for businesses that are running on the 24-hour policy. You know why? Because we generate power 24 hours a day. Now, in the night, when everybody shuts down and goes to work, we have excess power that goes to waste that we still have to pay for. So if right now factories are working and using that power, and you don't need, if we're selling a kilowatt of power at 10 pesos per kilowatt hour, and we are paying for that for nobody using it, and now we have companies coming on board, and instead of them paying 10 pesos, they're now paying 5 pesos. It helps the state to get some revenue for the power that's used, that is not being used normally, but it also becomes cheaper cost. So then most factories will now ramp up most of their production at night, where cost of power is less. So that again is an incentive. That's something that's not happening. And I'm showing you the things that are not happening today with the 24-hour policy that will make it workable and attractive for other people. Now you have filling stations, for example.
Before you get to the filling station, so the existing companies or businesses that are already running a 24-hour program, if you become, if you win power in the
when we win power on the 7th of December and come into government on the 7th of January,
will they benefit from these incentives?
Absolutely.
Or just because they are already implementing? No.
So once they come on board, and I'm sure there's going to be an implementing agency that's going to oversee the 24-hour economy policy. All they need to do is they would indicate to that entity that we're already running this. This is evidence of it, and then they get onboarded, because once they're running 4 hours, what matters to us is not who they are. It's not what the surname of the owner is, or what part of the country they come from. What matters to us is that they are doing import substitution, helping us to replace expensive imports with local production. They're employing young Ghanaians. That's all that matters to GHOne Mahama and resetting the country.
Because I'm wondering how you, with all these incentives that you talk about, they are very attractive, and there may be companies or persons who may want to sign on, but their services may not be needed at night. How do you...
No, so most of the factories are not producing to sell at night.
So you are targeting factories?
Well, the factories are a large part, because see, one of the large employers is manufacturing. Okay. And we're all talking about manufacturing sector. I mean, that's why the NPP went into this sloganeering of one district, one factory. Because the more factories you put to work at night, the more manufacturing you have locally, the more you replace import. So that's one of the major drivers. It's not the only. For example, there are ancillary businesses to manufacturing. Catering. Once people are working at night, they will eat. You understand me? Transportation.
Yeah.
So all of these are ancillary businesses that will definitely benefit from the 24-hour economy. And that's what I was coming to with the filling stations. Once transportation is running at night, you're going to have people buying fuel at night. But then right now, most of our filling stations don't operate at night because of security challenges. And so President Mahama stated that, again, it is, I use the example of Top Up Pharmacy. They've had to employ private security there. But that private security, is he armed? He may not be. But if we were able to put a lot more armed policemen on night rotation duty to ensure that we had enough security in enclaves where the 24-hour economy is operating, or general state of visibility across the country, two things happen. You create the secured environment for businesses to operate without fear of robbery, but what you also do is it means you're going to increase recruitment numbers in the security services. So you're creating new jobs in the security services, and you're providing a secured environment for others to operate. So the 24-hour economy is a detailed one. For example, you look at an industry like agro-processing. About 40% of flowers that are sold in Holland come from Kenya. The flight from Kenya to the Netherlands is at least 3-4 hours more than the flight from Accra. In my constituency, under John Mahama, there was the greenhouse initiative and the Dowenya irrigation farm, where they were planting roses and other essential flowers and exporting from my constituency, Israelis, exporting from my constituency to Europe on a daily basis. But you see, the lifespan of those products is very short. They cut, it needs to be refrigerated and flown out immediately. And so what you then need to do is now have an impetus to allow agro-processing, for example, to serve the European market and all of these markets. So you have farm gates that are producing the raw material, and now we're just selling the raw material. If we allow agripreneurs, and agribusiness is a key part of President Mahama's next government, and we begin to do value addition. In my constituency, again, there's a company that exports yams. Okay?
Yeah.
They get the yams. The yams are not necessarily cultivated to that extent in my constituency. They're cultivated in the Bono region. It's bought from there. It's brought to Pram in Miocho. It's processed, cleaned up, and baggaged and exported. Now, imagine that they can work 24 hours a day. The amount of work that will happen in there, the amount of young people in Ningo Pram who will get employment. Because at the moment, they employ quite a number of people. They employ over 200 people. You go to another factory in my constituency, B5. B5 has the capacity to produce 24 hours. It's the biggest steel plant, $80 million investment sitting in my constituency. They don't have enough power, they don't have enough water, so they're not able to run 24 hours. If we're able to provide them the electricity and water that they need to be able to run 24 hours, already at this point in time, B5 is employing about 2,500 of my young people. Now imagine if they run a second shift. So those are the kinds of life-changing impacts, real-life scenarios that I'm giving to you. Atlantic Life Sciences is one of the first vaccine producers in Ghana, again in my constituency. Atlantic Life Sciences has the capacity to expand its production if they were giving the impetus that they need, given tax breaks, given the water that they need. Today, the government of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo came and commissioned their new building with pump and punch entry, slapped 1D, 1F. It's been 2 years. They still don't have water. They still have to use their own tankers to go to Abeime to fetch water. So these are the things that you need a government that has its head properly screwed on, that understands what the policies are to lead about the industrial revolution of Ghana.
Okay, now let me take you back to the filling station example that you gave. With these incentives, once again, very attractive, assuming that 10 filling stations decide to come on board and run a 24-hour program, what if people don't turn up to buy the fuels? They're just going to be open there and just be sitting there?
If the factories are working, if the businesses are running, there's going to be transportation. Once there's transportation, the cars will not run on air, they will run on fuel.
But how many vehicles or cars are we going to, or are we expecting to be moving around?
So I know that you travel a lot. And in economies that run 24 hours, New York is a city that they say never sleep. It's happened. You see, we must look at...
But we are not New York.
But that's where we're headed for.
Isn't even up to that of New York.
It's not about population. It's about creating the environment for it. Listen, the few filling stations that run 24 hours are on the Oxford Street. Yeah. Why? Because there's always activity running on the Oxford Street. So there's a business case for them to run 24 hours. 24 hours. So I'm saying to you that even today, the parts of our city, of our country, that stay awake till 2-3 a.m. You see that businesses still run. You still see the woman selling Indomie at 2 a.m. because there is a market for it. You need to create more of those markets. We need to make sure that Tema doesn't go to sleep at 6 p.m. Tema was built as an industrial enclave. Tema does not need to sleep at 6 a.m. because factories have closed at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. when a shift is ending, Tema must be waking up to deal with the night shift. And that's what we're talking about. So for me, it's a chain reaction.
Okay.
Once you start with the businesses, and once you start moving the human resource that's needed to run these businesses, definitely the ancillary businesses will kick in.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about free senior high school.
Yes.
There's been a lot of debates on who started free senior high school, and I think that yesterday, and I've heard a lot of communicators, make a case in the NDC, make a case that it is the NDC that started the free senior high school policy. Yesterday, the former president reiterated that fact. Now, the former president has also been quoted as saying that he's going to review the policy. And I wanted him to answer a question on what that review means, because I have heard people, including CSO, say that the way that we have implemented it is not the best, because there are persons who may be able to pay for their children, but they are under this program and they are struggling. And one of the biggest challenges for free senior high school is financial problems and, finding sustainable funding. What exactly does the former president mean when he says that he will review the policy? Some parents are worried that this review will mean that their financial situation will be changed to have them bear some of the costs. Is that what it's going to be? Is that what the review means?
So yesterday, I heard President Mahama answer that question, and he was very clear. Free SHS is here to stay. Yes. It was started by him. He started it as a progressively free senior high school in 2015-2016. We were lauded and applauded by the UN for rolling out UNESCO, UNDP, all applauded President Mahama for rolling out the progressive free SHS. And let's be clear, the progressive free SHS is not something a political party must seek to even say belongs to you. If any political party wants to own it, then it should be the NDC, because we put it in the manifesto. Don't forget in the constitution. Don't forget the NPP ran away and boycotted the 1992 constitution. And free senior high school is a constitutional mandate. It is there in our constitution, 1992 constitution. The NDC put it there, that we must have a progressively free senior high school. Now, the question here is, President Mahama says he will review it. And then all of a sudden, the so-called men in the NPP, their understanding of the word review is cancellation. Have we not heard President Akufo-Addo say he was going to review things?
So what does the review that the President Mahama talks about mean? What does it mean?
The review is to rationalize the way the free SHS is being implemented today. You speak to any parent who has children in the school, and they'll tell you the challenges that they are facing with a free SHS. Poor sanitary conditions in the schools, poor feeding for their children, lack of educational material and TLMs, teaching and learning materials in the schools, overcrowding in the dormitories. These are real and present challenges. An inconsistent timetable where the kids literally go to school for 4 or 5 weeks, come home for 6 weeks. Parents are having to spend more on private tutorials for their children to keep them up because the teacher-student contact hours have reduced drastically. These are real challenges. And listen, even Ken Oforiatta, I think, sat in this very studio, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was your network, but he sat in the media and made a clear point that even as finance minister, maybe that's one of the only things he ever got right. He thought that the whole process by which we were running the free SHS was wrong. Kosawa, how can you explain that a child has sat in basic school all the way from Montessori to JHS? This child's parents has paid fees in dollars. Then as soon as that child gets into a government senior high school, that child becomes so impoverished that the government needs to bear the full cost. Absolutely not.
Is that a review that you are going
we
to
need
do?
We need to rationalize it and ensure that those who are willing and capable of making payments will make some payment, whilst the state will be in a position to absorb the cost of tuition Okay, those are things we need to look at. If a child is not indigent, and let's be very clear, that's one of the things President Mahama did in 2015. It was a targeted program. You'll have the list of the most impoverished people in Ghana, the LEAP.
So
okay, and so when we say we're going to rationalize, we're going to look at the way it's been implemented. First and foremost, do you have enough classrooms or dormitories for everybody? What's the consequence of that on the shifting cultivation they are doing, the traffic light system? Is it possible for some people to pay? Not everybody. Some people who have the capacity. And several PTAs, or now they say we shouldn't call them PTAs.
If
we should call them PAs.
If it is free,
yes.
Why do you want some people to pay and others not pay? And how do you ensure that those who are actually asked to pay or those who are not supposed to be paying are adhering to it? Because we know how things sometimes happen.
I have heard on this your network interviews with parents who have said, look, the government should let us pay so that our children, how many times have they paid?
Because EduWatch has done a research where about 100,000 school children could not do senior high school because of financial problems. So yes, there may be a few parents who may be able to...
And currently you have 1.2 million.
There may be a few people who can pay.
In the senior high school system. So if 100,000 could not pay and 1.2 million are present, and you're saying, per your statistics, 100,000 could not pay, it means 1.1 million could have paid something. But I'm not even saying that that's what we're going to do. I'm saying to you that of that number, there are some who are in a position who are willing and able to pay.
How isn't that going to be too much work? How are you going to compile that data?
Currently, look, it's the intransigence of this government that has brought us to this place.
So how are you going to do it?
Because there are parents who have decided. How many times have we not heard parents wake up and buy food and send to the schools because their children are starving?
So how are you going to do it? So you pick, what school did you go to? Sorry.
No, I didn't attend a secondary school in Ghana.
Oh, okay. Well, I went to Yasantua Girls.
Good.
So
in Yasantua Girls, for example, you have a number of children who've been placed there. And by no means am I saying that this is the full exhaustive implementation plan.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, in Yasantua Girls, for example, you've got children who are placed there who automatically will qualify for the full free SHS policy because the families are captured under LEAP. Automatically. These are persons who the state itself is already supporting with quarterly cash grants. So a child from any of those homes cannot be expected to pay anything. They must be full beneficiaries of the free SHS. Yes. Why? But the Yasantua Girls School, it is placements that push children there. The children of persons on LEAP would have qualified through BEC.
Right.
They could have been in whichever village in any part of the country.
Right.
Once they were placed and put in Yasantua Girls, they would definitely need, whether it's Yasantua Girls or Holy Child, and we've got these children across the country. So LEAP beneficiaries, for example, children of LEAP beneficiaries, for me, it's a no-brainer. Cannot be asked to pay anything.
So you come to Yasantua Girls, ask for the students whose parents are on LEAP.
We don't need to come to the school and ask. The database already sits with government. Government does that payment. It's that same database that's also, and then you have another database that's being used to do the placement. So it's simply running a query on it to identify the children who automatically, it's going to be a tiered system. So automatically you have the first tier of people who are LEAP beneficiary children, or children of LEAP beneficiaries, who automatically, in that tier, once you fall in there, there is absolutely no question about it. You must go in free of charge. Again, I believe that one of the things, and I'm not saying, again, let me issue a disclaimer, I'm not saying that this is how it's going to be implemented, but one thing I would suggest to the review committee that will be set up, and there's going to be a national conversation. So it's not as though the NDC is going to sit back and just say we are doing ABC. President Mahama runs a consultative forum, and he stated that we'll have a national consultation on this matter, where parents will be invited to have their say. Teachers themselves will be allowed to speak. It's not going to be the situation now where when head teachers speak and teachers speak, they are reprimanded and moved out of their roles or punished or suspended. No, we'll give them a voice because our teachers have a voice in how the free SHS must be implemented. And so there's going to be this general consensus built on the best way forward between parents, government, educators, and even students themselves. So we're going to build this roadmap. And that's what I'm saying to you, that the national conversation will flesh out what the roadmap is. My contribution to that program is what that process is what I've just explained to you. It's my suggestion that, look, it's a no-brainer that LEAP beneficiary children must not be made to pay anything. Again, I think that if a child is coming in to a government secondary school from a private school of a certain standing, they cannot be asked to benefit fully. For example, if a child had attended any of our international schools across the country, where we know the fees are paid in dollars, and that child sat the BEC and decides to come into the Class A or Class B schools in the public sector, why should they be paying, why should government be subsidizing 100% for them? They will get some subsidy, tuition, for example, books, for example. But if that child wants to be a boarder, the parents should pay for it. Because if they were able to pay, and I think this should not be a difficult thing for us to agree on as a country. Because if you paid from Montessori to JHS 3, at least $1,000, in some cases, there are some of those schools that charge $18,000 in this country. And parents pay. And after paying $18,000 for a child in JHS 3, that child goes to SHS 1, and the parents cannot pay 3,000 Ghana cedis. I mean, who are we kidding ourselves? So for me, my suggestion to that process of review will be that we should run a tiered system that aggregates and segregates the students and gives a tiered level of scholarship. But I think that across board, everybody in senior high school must have free tuition of a certain level. Free tuition. That must be fundamental. If you want to be in the boarding house, you want to get feeding and all of that, then we begin to look at the criteria for which you qualify to either get it free of charge, maybe at 75% bursary rate, 50% bursary rate, 25% bursary rate. Even in the advanced world, Serwaa, not everybody gets 100% scholarship when they go to universities. Some people get 50% scholarship, some 25%, some 75%. So it all comes back to making sure that we have a tiered system. And that's my contribution to this process. But the bottom line is that President Mahama's review is not a cancellation. He has made it clear he can't cancel something he started. Okay. But you see, I'll give you a typical example of why we'll make it better. And yesterday, President Mahama spoke about it. National health insurance. The NDC started the national health insurance in 1998 with a pilot program in parts of the Bono region. Then the NPP takes over office in 2001 with President Kufuor and roll out based on the successes of the pilot program. And that pilot program was carried out with the Catholic Health Services. So it's not something that you cannot confirm. The Catholic Health Services is an established body under the Catholic Church of Ghana. President Kufuor takes the pilot that was run under President Rawlings and rolls out a health insurance program. But anybody who remembers very well, you could not leave, if you were registered, for example, in AMA, and you traveled to Kumasi, and you had to use the hospital, you could not use your health insurance card from Accra in Kumasi. In fact, you could not use your health insurance card if you were registered at that time, Dangme West, which was the district where Ningo, Prampram, and Shai Osudoku were. If you left Dangme West and came to Tema, if you were registered in Ningo or Prampram and got to Tema, you could not use your health insurance card because it was a mutual health insurance system. It was only when Professor Mills took over office in 2009 that we then decided to make it a national health insurance system that then allowed people to move across the country and still benefit from their health insurance cards in any part of the country. So it tells you that when the NDC pilots a program and the NPP comes and then runs with it, because they didn't pilot it, because they don't understand it, like I said to you at the beginning, you can only explain and implement something that your mind can conceptualize. Once they don't understand it, it's the same thing with free SHS. President Mahama started with a progressive free SHS because, again, we believe that if you read the Constitution speaks about accessibility before making it free. That's why President Mahama started building the e-blocks. You must have access and then progressively make it free because you cannot discriminate on the basis of access. Everybody must have the opportunity in every community where they are. And Serwaa, if you had this community senior high schools, it will reduce the number of boarders that you need to have because then people would be in their communities and attend their community school and come back. The less boarders you have, the less congestion in our boarding schools. The less borders you have, the less challenges of food. You saw what happened with Kobiche's video. When Kobiche went to visit the schools, you saw what's happening to the schools. Look, the food our children are being fed is worse than what the prisoners are even being fed. Are you proud as a Ghanaian of the food that we feed the next generation of our leaders? I, for one, I'm embarrassed. When I saw Kobiche's video, I bowed my head down in shame. Because no country must treat its children, no country must treat its youth the way we treat our children. We feed them unhealthy and wholesome food. And we pride ourselves. And that's what President Mahama is coming to change. So when President Mahama says he's reviewing, it's to ensure that no child in our Ghanaian school, public school system, should be fed as though they are working on a slave plantation in Southern America in the 18th century. Absolutely no child.
All right.
We must treat our children with respect and the dignity that they deserve. And that's what President Mahama's review of free SHS is.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about the judiciary very quickly, because there's a lot going on, and it's kind of ties in with the question that I asked. So we know that the Chief Justice has written to President Akufo-Addo asking for more judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court because there is a heavy workload there. I have heard members of the NDC say that it appears the judiciary or the president has packed the bench with NPP-inclined judges. And yesterday, I asked the former president that I know that at a gathering of NDC lawyers somewhere in September last year, he urged them to aspire to be judges so that when he becomes president, he can appoint them to balance what he terms as an NPP-inclined judiciary. And I sought to find out whether the former president still stands by that position. That he didn't say, didn't answer directly, but I sought to speak on, the letter or the recommendation by the Chief Justice to the president. I've seen the press conference by the NDC that it is not done. The Chief Justice is not supposed to be the one to make those recommendations. And you have talked about the number of Supreme Court judges, but, lawyers and some judges make the argument, that the Supreme Court, they're about, 16 of them now. And they're handling about hundreds of cases. And the president has got discretionary powers to appoint these judges.
Yeah.
Let's put the fact that, it is the Chief Justice that is making these recommendations. Is it wrong for the president to make more appointments?
Absolutely.
Why?
It's unconscionable. I mean, President Akufo-Addo has literally bastardized and abused his power of appointment when it comes to the judiciary. And he's done it with a political spin and twist that is most unfortunate. Listen, NDC lawyers who qualify to be judges are Ghanaians. And the criteria for being a judge, either in the High Court, Court of Appeal, or Supreme Court, is stated in the Constitution. And so if these Ghanaians qualify, irrespective of their political affiliation, nothing should bar them from appointment if they are so qualified. However, we should not have a situation where our Supreme Court is being packed and being overrun. Listen, when Parliament has a lot of work before we rise, we don't ask the creation of new constituencies for new MPs to come in so that we do the work. Parliament normally sits on Tuesday to Friday. When we have those situations, we sit on Monday, we sit on Saturday, we even sit on Sunday. You commit yourself to ensure that the job is done. When there's work to be done, I've been in the Flagstaff House at times under President Mahama, where he was in the office till past midnight because the work had to be done. He didn't ask that they should appoint new ministers or appoint a second vice president or appoint another president. He sat there, sat down, earned his salary, and did the job. If the Chief Justice thinks that the judges on the Supreme Court today, who sit only from Tuesday to Thursday, they don't sit on Monday and Friday, cannot work on Monday and Friday and sit their backsides down and do the job we pay them a salary for and provide them all the perks. The Supreme Court, people shout about MPs getting Land Cruisers. They get Land Cruisers and saloon cars. In addition, they get two. They get two cars. MPs don't get their cars fueled for them. They get their cars fueled for them. They get drivers. They get accommodation. We give them all of that luxury so that they can sit down and write judgments and sit down and work. You don't tell us that the work we've given to you, the work is if it's too much, resign. If the Chief Justice thinks that she is incapable of doing the job we pay her a salary for, if the job is too much for her, what did General Nunu Mensah say? If the kitchen is too hot for you, leave. If the Chief Justice cannot do the job that we pay her a salary to do, and she thinks she needs more justice, she should honorably resign. There'll be somebody fit to do that job, grateful for the salary and perks that we give them, and they will do the job. The Supreme Court should start sitting on Monday. They should start sitting on Friday. They should stop throwing cases throwing cases all over the places. The United States Supreme Court sits on cases from over 300 million people. How many people are on the US Supreme Court? 7 or 9 judges. Yet they are able to do their job. The US Supreme Court, 9 judges. They are able to do and sit and adjudicate on cases from 300 million Americans. Cases from all the 50 states of the US come to the Supreme Court. They handle it. 16 of them. They say they can't handle cases from 33 million, from 16 regions. They should resign. I mean, that admission by the Chief Justice should even form the basis for her resignation. It means she's not fit for the job. It means she doesn't have the capacity to handle the caseload. If an MP, if a minister, someone look, let's be serious in this country. If a minister were to wake up one day and say that there are too many memos in my ministry, so Mr. President, I want more deputy ministers. How would the media bash take that from the minister? Or if the Speaker of Parliament said the workload in Parliament was too much, so he needed 50 more MPs. How would that sound to you? Or the president said that the workload, so he needed more ministers and more presidents. We needed to have 2 presidents. I mean, will that sound, how would the country take it? Look, the Chief Justice must not take us for a fool. And she must not take the benevolence of the Ghanaian people for granted. The Ghanaian people break their backs. Kaya years work non-stop, Monday to Monday. They don't have a break. They work almost 24 hours, sleep in harsh conditions, and pay taxes that is used to buy the air-conditioned car and air-condition her office as Chief Justice. She cannot be telling the poor Ghanaian whose taxes pay her and provide the luxury for she and the other judges of the Supreme Court that they cannot do their work. If they can't do their work, they should resign. Other people will come there and do the job that we pay them a salary for. Okay. We must demand quality and excellence from persons who earn a salary of the taxes of the Ghanaian people who are suffering. And I think that it is the Chief Justice owes the taxpayers of Ghana an apology for that suggestion. Now to the substantive question of whether President Mahama will appoint or not. The power of appointment rests with him. I don't expect President Mahama to flood the courts the way President Akufo-Addo has flooded the courts, both at the Supreme Court level and the appellate level, and even at the High Court level. But I believe that if there is any person who is qualified, and with age requirements, people are going to face out. I mean, people will age, people will reach retirement age, people will have to go. We need to scale down the numbers. I believe that we must have a cap on our Supreme Court. I don't see why we should have more than maximum 11 or 13 judges on the Supreme Court.
So right now there are 16 Supreme Court judges.
And you see,
if the NDC should win the election come December 7, is President Mahama going to make more appointments or any appointments to the Supreme Court?
The power of appointments rests with him. He'll take that decision.
But if you are saying 16 is too much for
But the 16 of them are not going to be there for life.
Yeah, but
they're not going to be there for life. So
definitely.
if, as and when there's the need for us people to retire, we'll look at the numbers. So, and if retirements or exits from the Supreme Court drop the number to somewhere around 7 or 8, given the exigencies of time or whatever may occasion that. I think that we shouldn't go beyond 11 or 13, and I think that we should find a way of amending the Constitution and putting it in there so that never again do we have a president act so irresponsibly as the current president has done to flood the Supreme Court.
So we shouldn't expect any appointment to the Supreme Court if Mahama becomes president
I haven't said
anytime soon.
I haven't said
unless there is some resignation.
I haven't said so. I've only said that for
but
me,
if the numbers are
if
too much,
if the exigencies, when the exigencies are right and opportunity arises and the numbers reduce, if they reduce, we should never get to a place where we are beyond 11 or 13. And you see, the contradiction in Chief Justice, her leadership, Justice Tokonu's own letter, is she writes to the president saying, appoint 5 people, in addition to the 16 that are there. Yet she says that, and then cap it at 20. Why, Serwaa? In the judiciary, do they have a new mathematics time? Is there a new way of doing maths in the judiciary where 16 plus 5 is equals to 20? Because they are 16. She says appoint 5 more, but let the cap be 20. So even her own list of appointments goes beyond the cap of 20 that she suggested. I mean, let's get tidy. When we are paid with the taxpayers' money, let's be diligent in the work that we do.
All right. There's still a lot of areas that we can touch on, but we will get into that subsequently if there's time. But right now, I want us to talk about the NPP. Because they're your main opponents and getting into the 2024 elections. In fact, this one promises to be very interesting. On Thursday, they named their running mate, and tomorrow they will officially outdoor him in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. And I have seen quite a number of NDC supporters and communicators react to the naming of the energy minister as the running mates for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Sam, what are your thoughts on settling on Napo? Is the NDC scared?
Of what? Scared about what? If the election was about a contest of who is most arrogant and all, then, I mean, we would have been scared because GM is not arrogant, Prof is not arrogant. And so if the election was about a competition of who is the best liar, then we'll be scared. We'll know that we'll lose the election because GM can't tell the lies that Bawumia tells. Neither would Prof. I mean, she's too noble and distinguished to do those things. And so, I mean, but if it is about records, if it's about track record, and if it's about what they have done and what we can expect them to do, then there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, you have a man who's got a track record of excellence and deliverables, tangible deliverables that you can see, paired up with a woman of great clout and pedigree, going up against a man who's best known for the lies he's told and another who is known for being he's chronically arrogant. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Does his arrogance make him...
That's why the NPP themselves have gone on an overdrive trying to explain his arrogance. Nobody has said anything about it, but they themselves, they've decided to go all out because their consultants have told them that that's a big no-no for Ghanaians. But I mean, look, this election is going to be about the track records. Prof. Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman is the running mate for John Dramani Mahama and the presumptive vice president by God's grace come 7th of January 2025. Prof went into the Ministry of Education at a time where 3 Ghanaian children shared one textbook. 3 Ghanaian children shared one textbook. At the time Prof was leaving after 4 years as Minister for Education, every Ghanaian child had 4 textbooks. So she turned the situation around from 3 children sharing one textbook to every child having 4 textbooks. Matthew Opoku Prempeh as Education Minister changed the curriculum. 4 years on after they changed the curriculum, there are no textbooks for the new curriculum.
But under his supervision, free SHS was implemented.
The free SHS that me and you are not proud of. The free SHS that is serving our children food that we won't serve our dogs. That's what we are serving them. I breed dogs. I know the food I give to my dogs. It's not what the children are being given, what Kobe Chase showed. And so I'm sure you've seen that Kobe Chase video. I wish your production had it to show the Ghanaian people. Put it on air. And let's ask ourselves if that is Napo's pride. If that video, and I'll look for Kobe Chase video and send it to you if you don't have it, if your production doesn't have it, so that you play it tomorrow.
The free SHS policy,
if that is Napo's success, then if that is what Ghanaians want.
You can't also deny the fact that it saved a lot of children from being at home who are now in school.
But the free SHS, implemented with all of its challenges, was started by Professor Nana Jane in 2015 under GHOne Mahama, where over 10,568 Ghanaian children in the 2015-2016 academic year went in free of charge. Full tuition. Their parents didn't have to pay anything. Today, Napo's free SHS, parents are spending more than they were spending when they were paying fees. So, you have Napo leave education. And look, we've not forgotten all the issues that border on corruption at education under his watch. You remember that we spent over 56 million Ghana cedis buying math sets that never came. You remember that issue? You remember? Math sets that never came, 56 million Ghana cedis. So if we are in the place where we are today, where corruption has swallowed this country is drowning in the doldrums of corruption, are you sure you want to hand over the country to someone whose track record doesn't engender confidence? And let me just read something from Graphic, from the Auditor General's report. Financial irregularities committed by public boards increased from 5.47 billion Ghana cedis in 2019 to 12.86 billion in 2020. And then from 4.63 billion in 2021, in 2023 last year, 17.48 billion Ghana cedis. So that's how much financial irregularity is going on under this government. This government is corruption personified. You see, when we say corruption, people need to see it. Any member of this government, when you see them, that's corruption. The thing they call corruption, it is them. And you want us to retain the same people. Baumia, who has engaged in nepotistic contract awards of sole sourcing to his own brother. His brother has been given sole source contracts all over the place. He's done family and friends appointments. The proper style 555 hash. You're asking me which people?
Which contract?
Oh, his brother has gotten road contracts. He's gotten road contracts. Okujetua Blackwell has made exposés on those. They've not come out to deny it. Sole source road contracts have been given to his brother at inflated cost. It's fact. Napo, at education, at energy, the issues that we are hearing, the time will come. They should go and do their pump and pan gentry. He said party, they won't pay. They should go and do the party. But after they finish the party, we are waiting for them on the ground. We want to see if Ghanaians want a president who would deliver the bank hospital, a president who would deliver a state-of-the-art Terminal 3, or a president who will give them the UGMC, a president who will build the Tema and Pakadan Railway, a president who will do the Obechebi-Lamte interchange, and the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, the Kaswa interchange, a president who will build the Fufusu Solar Road that had appeared in every 8 of President Kufuor's budgets, but never got done, but got done under GHOne Mahama. A president who delivered proper road infrastructure in this country, proper health infrastructure, built the E-blocks, or a president or a candidate who is vice president, and don't forget, a president who oversaw the rebound of Ghana from an economic crisis. People today, this government uses Russia-Ukraine war as an excuse for this mess. Are you aware that in 2014-2015 there was a Russia-Ukraine war? That Crimea was annexed in 2014-2015. GHOne Mahama did not leave Ghana. in 2014, 2015 to go and beg the president of Ukraine for grain. Serwaa, look, this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, they have used our face as a mopping stick on the international stage. To think that the president of Ghana will sit in a plane to go and meet the president of Ukraine, who's been fighting a war for over 2 years, and go and do lala sulala, beg him for grain. We are begging Ukraine. The President Akufo-Addo, went to beg Volodymyr Zelensky, for grain, for food. We, Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Jesus Christ. We need to put this country back to work. We need to salvage our image on the international stage. Our president has clearly lost it. We are more interested in a president who would deliver world-class health facilities and not one who will take 339 million Ghana cedis to dig a pit. But they are galamsey kingpins. Let's not be shocked that tomorrow we'll do an investigation and there was report of gold at the site there, and that's why they dug that pit. It was no cathedral they wanted to build. So 330. Serwaa, look, wait. Serwaa, do you know what 339 million Ghana cedis can do for communities? What's your hometown? Where do you come from? Serwaa. In Ashanti. Are you aware that we're building a hospital there? And that hospital was 75% complete? And that the NPP government for 8 years abandoned the equipment. The equipment that had arrived to complete it from 75% to 100% had arrived in containers. And we're just waiting for installation. The NPP has abandoned them at Serwaa, your hometown. Do you know what? That hospital did not cost 339 million to build? The whole hospital? Imagine what the NPP has done to your hometown by not completing the Serwaa military hospital. And imagine what that money, 339 million, could have done for the local economy in Serwaa. I can imagine what it would have done in Ningo Pram Pram. It would have fixed Afienya Dawenya Road. It would have fixed New Jerusalem to Apollonia, Old Ningo to Mango Chunya, Old Ningo to Chopoli. It would have fixed all those roads and we'll still have had change to build the Nursing Training College. That's what MPP used to dig a hole in the center of Accra.
Since you have mentioned the National Cathedral, and quickly we'll be wrapping up shortly. I know yesterday the former president spoke about the National Cathedral, but as to what the NDC will do if it comes to power is not very clear to me. What would you do about the whole?
One thing I'm sure about is that we are not going to build a cathedral there.
So what is going to be the use
There'll
of
be a proper investigation into the
matter.
Then? And don't forget, the outcome of the investigation would allow us prosecute. And I expect the next Mahama administration to prosecute everyone involved in this theft in the name of God. Look, we live in a dispensation of grace. Else God should have struck people dead like he did to Ananias and Sapphira. For stealing in his name.
You are an elder.
Yes. And I'm quoting Bible.
And you don't believe that we need a national cathedral?
For what? The church I'm an elder in sits 14,000 people. It used to be the biggest auditorium in Ghana. Now the oil dome is also there. I hear it sits about 16,000. When you come to my constituency, Potter City, sits 20,000. What do you need a 5,000 cathedral for? And the man building a cathedral is busy supporting LGBTQ. The God he serves, does he support LGBTQ?
Okay, so
that cathedral is not a necessity.
Okay, so a future NDC government will investigate.
Has to.
Okay, and then what happens to that project?
We need to
the hole that has been dug.
I mean, if in fact, I can't even fathom that President Mahama would think of saying he's also going to build a cathedral. Absolutely not. But that hole would have to be converted into something. There must be a national conversation about it. There are several schools of thought. I think that today in Ghana, and this is, again, is my personal opinion, not the position of the NDC and not the position of President Mahama. I am stating this on the record. This is Sam George's position. I believe that what we should rather do with that space, since that land has been built. I have visited it's called, is it Marie-Louise Children's Hospital in Accra.
Okay.
It's an eyesore.
Okay.
My appeal to President Mahama is the way he was able to, with his former boss, John Evans Atta Mills, secure funding from the Israelis to build the UGMC, which is a world-class quaternary level hospital that mirrors the Sheba Medical Center in Israel. I want us to mirror a world-class children's hospital. I will want to see a world-class children's hospital sitting there that will provide cutting-edge, world-class healthcare to the children of Ghana. That should be John Mahama's legacy. That's my suggestion. I hope he takes it. But I think that would serve God and humanity better, that we give a befitting hospital for our children. Like you have St. Thomas in the UK, you've got Johns Hopkins, you've got Bethesda Children's Hospital in the US. We need a world-class children's hospital that will deal with all the congenital challenges that our children face in the world today. That will be my suggestion for that place. As for places of worship, we've got too many domes, too many buildings that have been built by the church. The church built those without taxpayers' money. People have stolen in the name of God. And we must give them judgment here before they meet God also for judgment. And there are some people, if I see in heaven, I'm going to ask God questions. Because I'll ask
Which people?
Oh, I don't know which of the identities to mention. People who have multiple identities, who've stolen in the name of God. Use the name of God to steal 339 million of taxpayers' money. When Akufo-Addo said he was going to build that cathedral, did they not tell us that no peswa of taxpayers' money will go in? 339 million. Serwaa, look, the biggest problems I have in Ingo Pram Pram. Afenya Dowenya Road. Afenya to Dodowa. New Jerusalem to Apollonia. Old Ningo to Mango Chonya. Old Ningo to Chopoli. 339 million. What was used to build that hole, dig that hole, would have fixed all those problems for me in Ingo Pram Pram. That's how wicked. That's why yesterday, someone at the engagement called the president Nana Nebuchadnezzar. And I mean, it's that sheer level of wickedness. Sheer level of wickedness and insensitivity. Carelessness. You ask yourself if these gentlemen and women in government have any milk of human compassion running through them. If they did, they'll be compassionate. Serwaa, are you aware? Are you aware? Let me just tell you this. That look at the filth that has engulfed us in Accra. Are you aware that as far back as 2020, this government gave Cecilia Dapa $43 million. $43 million, Serwaa. That's also over 300 million. She said she used it to clear 5 heaps of rubbish. 43 million. Are you surprised that her housemaid was able to steal over $1 million from her house when she couldn't find, and she didn't even realize? 43 million of our taxpayers' money has been spent in the name of cleaning Accra. Accra is dirtier than they came to meet it.
Okay.
Look, Ghana has become a crime scene. And I expect and I demand of the next administration of John Mahama to ensure that the perpetrators of this rape of Ghana's purse, the desecration of Ghana's innocence, must not walk and enjoy their loot.
Okay.
They must be made to pay a steep price, such that anybody who finds himself in Mahama's government would use that as a yardstick and a learning rod. But you see, Serwaa, before I end, I am proud of President Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang. Yesterday, President Mahama spoke about corruption. I am challenging Mahmoud Bawumia and Matthew Opoku Prempeh to speak on corruption. Bawumia has gone around the country and danced in all the 16 regions, but he's not spoken about corruption because corruption is his middle name. I am daring him to speak about corruption. If he speaks about corruption, it will embarrass and disgrace him the way the dollar and CD have done to him. The election is not about dancing. It's about fixing the economy. It's not about arrogance. It's about putting Ghana back to work. It's not about talking down on Ghanaians and telling them to bring their own doomsday timetable when people's businesses are suffering. It's about putting the youth of Ghana at the forefront of national planning. And that's what GHOne and GHAne stand for.
Thank you very much. Sam George is the Member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram Pram constituency. Before we go, for 15 years, Quick Credit has been your trusted partner in micro-lending, empowering lives and making dreams a reality. Today, we're excited to announce a new age. Quick Credit is now Bill's Microcredits, still committed to serving Ghanaians and changing lives. Bills is here to show you that everything is possible. Join us as we embrace a brighter future. bills financing your needs. Stay with us.
Just before you go, the cleaners at the Jubilee House. I'm using this as an appeal to President Akufo-Addo. President Akufo-Addo, the cleaners at the Jubilee House say for 5 months they've not been paid their salary. Please pay them
a salary. When did they tell you this?
Oh, it's on Ghana Web. They've done a press conference. The cleaners at the Jubilee House for 5 months have not been paid their salary. Cleaners at the Jubilee House, the official residence and office of the President of Ghana, have not received their salary for 5 months, causing significant hardship. Foster Dominic, a cleaner employed there since 2017, shared their plight on a radio station in Accra.
All right.
Yes, 5 months. President Akufo-Addo, why? Why? What it takes you to fly one trip with Serwaa Broni will pay all these cleaners.
Disclaimer. Thank you very much, Sam George, for coming on the show.
Order.
And his to follow that particular order. So that was, for that time, that was enough. As I said.
So does it mean that anybody at all can walk into Amihere tomorrow and say, oh, I have an engagement with the U.S. Embassy and comes with a reference number, and Amihere will gladly give them their space and every support that there is?
No, you see, there are different situations. With this situation, as I said, he came with a respectable person in society. And around that time too, this whole Kukaton thing was going on. There were similarities with the process. And he briefed us with the process. And also there were emails to show what he was saying. And the reference code to follow that same sequence. So after this, there
was no need to verify.
I wouldn't say at that particular moment there wasn't.
You didn't think there was a need?
Yes, there wasn't any need at that because everything fell in place.
But all he needed was the space.
All he needed was the space.
But did you later spend more?
So, as I was saying, after he said he needed the space and everything, we were okay, fine. We give you the space. So I think 2 days to the event, he came that where he wanted. It wouldn't suit, according to the rules of the game, it wouldn't suit what he wanted to do. So he opted for our electronics shop. So on the right, you have a huge building. That's where we have our electronics. And I was like, wow, that means you are going to close this whole place for like a month and some days. That looks so impossible. But my madam, she was glad and she was like, okay, take that space. So fast forward 24 hours to the cookathon. We are like, okay, where are your stuff? You said you had stuff. You just needed a space. But it's 24.
But this was a week or 24 hours?
24 hours.
Okay.
24 hours to the program. You said you needed a space. Now we are looking forward to branding materials, the kitchen and all those things. But I realized nothing was coming. So I personally asked him, chef, where's your kitchen? Where's this? Where's this? Where's that? Where's that? And he keeps on giving me it's coming, they are bringing that. So I was like, no, just tell me the truth that you don't have anything and let's see what we'll do about it. So that was when he came clean that he didn't have anything.
Was this not indicative of any foul play?
So at that point, we called an emergency meeting. And we decided that, okay, looking at the time frame, right now it's 24 hours to the event. We've not even put any kitchen together. We've not done anything. And it looks a bit impossible. Production, everything. Production was not even on site. All those things were not on site. So I was like, okay, then why not just postpone the start date so that we can reorganize, looking at the issues that are coming up last minute. And he was like, no, according to Guinness, you can't, postpone if they give you a date. Like, he gave a reasonable excuse. And I was like, okay. Then I think from where things are going, we are going to invest a lot of money because now we are taking over the whole program. So then let's put pen to paper and sign something to show that this is what we are going to do. So that was when Amihere came on board fully to sponsor the whole thing. So right then, I had to put the kitchen together, branding materials, everything.
In 24 hours?
In less than 20, because it was in the evening. So the next one, so that was less than 12 hours. You had to put the kitchen together, do the branding, get production on set, everything. Even the first meal he prepared, we had to go to the market that same time to get foodstuffs and stuff to start the event that day.
How much did it cost, Amihere?
It's crazy. It's a lot of money.
But even before that, when he came and he wanted a space, we gave him a space. But what he wanted to build wasn't good enough. It wouldn't have cut it. So when we gave him the electronic part to use, now we considered a lot of things. First one being that we already had our quarterly budget that wanted to spend and do some activities in front of Amihere. What he wanted to do in the beginning was just 15 days. So after the 15 days, we know that, okay, we have that place to ourselves. We can do our activities and we can move on. But we realized that on the 15th, someone else was starting another cookathon. So he brought that up and he was like, he can be able to cook for a whole month. So cooking for a whole month means that we will not be having that space for like a month and 6 days. So if we won't have that space to do our activities, let's see how best we can collaborate and then do it together. So that's when we had an emergency meeting and then we thought about it and we're like, okay, first of all, what we want to do and what he wants to do, even though it's two different things, it still involves us doing activities on our place. So it's going to bring publicity. It's going to bring revenue. These are the things he's also doing. Doing the cookathon, people coming in, he's cooking for free. When he gives them the food, he's not providing them water, he's not providing them drinks.
So the shopping, obviously, they will purchase.
They will purchase. So it's a good business decision. They'll purchase water, food, drinks, and other stuff. And whilst people are waiting, they also purchase a lot of things whilst they are waiting for him to cook. So it's good. And then it's also going to bring publicity. Okay, now in terms of let's invest in him, we have to find out how we are going to recoup. Because this was a short decision. We had an emergency meeting and we had to make that decision very quick. So looking at all angles, we realized that this is going to be more of an investment. How are we going to recoup this money? With all the publicity that's going to come with this cookathon, because around that time, there was a lot of Guinness World Record attempts. So it was something that was really loud and really grabbing attention. People are going to come in. If we push it right, they will donate. If they donate, that can be a form of us recouping part of the money. So after we recoup part of the money, whatever is left, then we can share with him 50-50. Aside that, we also had right of refusal, first right of refusal. So after the cookathon, definitely there's going to be a lot of publicity around him too. So he's going to go for interviews, he's going to do all those things, and that is going to bring more attention. If anybody wants to use him for anything, we have the first right of refusal. So it plays an advantage. If Amihere calls him for anything at all, we want to promote anything, we want to do any activity, he has to be involved in it. And it was agreed. So looking at all angles, it was a good way for us to recoup our money back. And even most importantly, how he assured us that he can cook for that whole month. And he had a couple of people who vouched for him that in terms of hard work, he's very, very hardworking, so he can stand on his feet and do it.
Did Amihere see the guidelines from the Guinness World Records in terms of the cookathon? Did you see the guidelines?
Yeah.
Yes, we saw the guidelines.
And in the spate of 1 month that he cooked, did he follow through?
Yeah,
he followed through.
I was there throughout.
He followed
because
through.
you were the operations manager.
I was there throughout, and that's what surprises me, because if you knew that all this that you were doing wasn't true, why would you go through the stress to cook for 1 month?
Would you then say that Amihere aided Chef Smith to scam the entire nation?
No.
Because you failed to do due diligence.
No, we did.
If you say you did due diligence, why didn't you confront? Then you didn't realize that there was nothing, there was no reference of that sort.
There was a reference number. If you check,
but I'm saying
if you check on all the materials, when you come on site during the cookathon, there was a reference number that showed that.
But did you verify if indeed he
as I said earlier on, at that point, It was something that was
done in a
trying to-
rush.
No, not even in the rush. It was something that was being done. And anyone that you see, the first check was the reference code. If the person doesn't have the reference code, and even with the reference code, it follows a particular sequence.
Yeah.
So if you see a particular reference code that doesn't have that kind of sequence, you know that, oh, what this person is doing is not true.
So what we did was to send to a couple of people who are also familiar with it, and they verify that yes, it's true. You need that reference code, and it follows the order. And at that time, you can't do enough due diligence because we only had 24 hours, and all our focus was on getting the thing done. And because he also came with a reputable person, we also knew that because he also assured us that he has also done his check from people he knows. This person is solid and this person can get the job done. And there's no way it will come in your mind at that time that this person will have the balls to do this thing. Like,
language.
Sorry,
this is morning tea.
Sorry. This person will have the guts to do something like this. Yes, there's no way. This is more of an afterthought because even with the media, a lot of people were posting a lot of cookathon. There were no checks.
Absolutely.
The media was just posting it. So then
And
the
people were
media
actually
also
there.
aided.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This particular picture. At what point did he share this?
So this particular picture was shared with us on that day that we were having the meeting. So
So he had not engaged you.
He had not engaged us.
But he used Amihere
He
Shopping
used
Center
Amihere,
as the venue and as the biggest sponsor. Meanwhile, Amihere had no knowledge.
No knowledge of it.
Did you confront him on this?
Yes, we
Yes, we
confronted
did.
him and he denied knowing anything about it.
So who shared it? So who designed? Who shared it?
He denied knowing anything about it.
At this point, do you believe he didn't know anything about this particular picture?
No, as I sit here now, he knew about it. It's something he had.
Okay, so this was few hours to the main day.
Few hours. You see me kneeling down there, trying to put things together. That's why I'm very hurt. Yeah.
And you should apologize to me too, because you were seated right in front of me on the 11th of March and convincing me that indeed the gentleman will come out victorious. You should apologize to me and my viewers as well.
I apologize. And to you and your viewers, because now we are all in this together. Because he fooled everyone. Yeah.
But why did you arrest him though?
Okay, so after the cookathon, we had a post-production meeting, and at the post-production meeting, he came with someone who wanted the person to take over, like within that period of time, to handle his affairs. So I was like, okay, fine. We all decided that we'll hand over the footages to him, and at that point, the manager, to upload the videos. So fast forward, the manager briefed me that, okay, they've been able to upload the videos and they are waiting for approval. So
sorry, even before that, there were some red flags. Which were after he did the cookathon. He then went for interviews, which he didn't really communicate to us. And because if he had communicated to us, we'll know how to convey certain messages. He didn't.
But was there an agreement to state that you cannot grant, because we are your title sponsor, you cannot grant interviews without our knowledge? Was there any agreement? Was it put on paper?
It was all part of the agreement.
Okay, so he breached the agreement.
He breached the agreement.
He went on air saying that he has submitted the files, the content, which will take you about a month to submit, because these are heavy, bulky files. It's either you are sending them through FedEx or you're uploading them, and you need a stable internet to upload them for a whole month. Yeah. And he went on air saying that we have submitted it. So that was the first red flag. We called an emergency meeting, tell him that he can't do that. Have we submitted it? No. So why are you telling people that we've submitted it? So it was all leading up to why we went to the venue to caution him to stop, so we see proof before he continues. And that's why we even involved the police in the first place, because that was the first thing he did. Now, the second thing he did was he kept switching teams. The people who helped him to do this cookathon successfully, he didn't thank them. So the honorable even washed his hand from him because he was ungrateful. The hospital that helped him, he didn't thank the hospital. He didn't thank anybody. All his team members left. He brought in a new team that this is his new management. And they were in a hurry to put out another press conference that they've submitted all the content. And we're like, no, we cannot do this like that. So we did not agree with him on that. He didn't even have the contents by then. He didn't come for them. And now we understand why. They were with us.
Okay.
And now we understand why. Because all along he was not intending to submit them because he knew it was a lie. So we kept pressuring him that why are you not coming for the stuff? So it was David who even handed over the stuff to him on that day and his new management. Come to find out he has even changed his management again because the people he was doing the press conference with, they were different people. And someone he said is his manager is someone we paid to come and perform.
Oh.
Yes.
You paid to come and perform
Rashid guy.
Perform as an
artist.
Okay.
Yes, and then we realized that we saw people who were familiar with the who were coming to the Kukato on a regular basis in his team. So he was trying to find ignorant people who will not do research because even the management he brought after, they were more intelligent, so they will ask questions. So he was pushing forward so that they submit to the public that he has gotten the record. So he was trying to find people who are not deep thinkers to get him to do this scam. That's why he kept changing management. But for us, we saw all those red flags.
At this point, do you believe that his assistant chef didn't know about this scam?
No, Letitia didn't know about it.
She didn't.
No.
You're 100% sure.
It's like the whole team didn't know.
The whole team didn't know.
Because
it was
Letitia,
a self-taught thing.
Yes, because she also felt he was ungrateful. He didn't thank her after the whole cookathon. So she also left. So we're even surprised to see her in the press conference because she left. We're all calling and she wasn't picking. She said she didn't want to be a part of anything again.
Did you see the supposed certificate?
Okay, so as I was narrating earlier, so he called me in the morning, that was Tuesday, the day they were having the press conference. So he called me that, oh, the results are out and he's victorious. So I was happy, oh, that's nice. And I was like, okay, send me the certificate and also send me the email that shows that this is what it is. So he sends me the certificate and when I looked at it, I was like, there's something fishy around it. So I called him back that, okay, he should wait. He should hold on with the press conference he wants to have. Let's have a discussion to verify certain things first. So right after that, he didn't pick my call.
The next minute you saw he was displaying his certificate.
No, so there were other events. So from that I was like, no, then there's something wrong. So that was when I called Nana Buru that this is what is happening. So I think we should go to the venue and verify things. So we went there. We saw his new management and supposed manager. We spoke to him that this and this and this is what is happening. But we sponsored the whole thing. And he's telling us today that this is what is happening. So we don't have a problem. We are just in to clarify things. If it's true, we see proof and everything. Why not? We'll join you in the celebration.
Would you forgive him? He has come out to cry, apologize.
No, there's a press. We had a press release. For us, we forgiving him.
So you not press charges any longer?
Right now, it's more of the state against him because false pretense and fraud.
False pretenses.
Yes, it's a crime under the criminal code. It's a crime. So right now, it's more or less like the state against him.
Okay, so since you're forgiving him, the issue can be put to rest. You seem not to have forgiven him, but we'll leave you here for now. Thank you very much for coming. That's David Caleb Bogla. He's the communications team manager for the Amihere Shopping Center, and Gobachev, who is marketing manager for the Amihere Shopping Center. They say they have forgiven Chef Smith. Maybe Ghanaians can do that. We'll be back shortly. Scientific and cultural organization here in Ghana. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It took you 8 months to come to Ghana. Why?
It took me 8 months to come to Ghana because I think, as some will put it, I've been so much around the Ghanaians, and the Ghanaians also have influenced my own education, because when I was a student, my classmate who was a Ghanaian, was now one of the vice chancellor of one of the major university here in Ghana. And so it was really the Ghanaian culture, the Ghanaian people, even speaking English. He was my first teacher, because at university in China where we're studying in, I'm from Congo, Brazzaville, so I speak French. And he was speaking English, so he said, listen, I'll teach you English. Well, I would try to teach him French, but he never really got into it. But on the English part, it really turned out really quite to be a great advantage. And so, yeah, so I've been really acquainted with the Ghanaians already from my student time and even professional life.
But how is Ghana treating you, by the way, 8 months on?
8 months on has been very busy. I consider Ghana as one of the greatest country in Africa, and any achievement, any development achievement that can really be done in Ghana would be actually really an inspiration for other countries. And so bringing in the mandate of UNESCO in Ghana and ensuring that we're really setting an example for other places is always a great privilege. But I would say in particular also, you know, with the changes that's happening really in the West African region, taking into account also the great history of this part of the West Africa region, the history of it. We're talking about great empires that really arose in this part of the world. From UNESCO perspective, coming to Ghana, trying really to reconcile both the past and the present and really projecting the future becomes quite a full-time job. And so Ghana is making me busy, and I'm just started. I had the privilege also of being received by one of the His Majesty Royal Otumfo during his 25th Jubilee. And we discussed quite a lot of things about history, about culture, about heritage. So combination both government, royalties, and all these traditional values really just, yeah, it's enormous, and I'm excited.
In your discussions and in your talks or assessment of Ghana's cultural heritage, what will be our rate? How far have we come?
Well, talking first of all, the heritage and the culture in itself, the richness of it. The richness depends really on the value, the history, and where it's coming from. So we're talking about the empires. From the empire's perspective, Ghana, so before even the castle. So we're talking about, for example, the traditional Ashanti buildings, which have made it on the World Heritage List. One of the most, I would say, the finest architecture design of African, which really take into account the climate environment, comfort, and all those basic elements that are becoming essential today when we're fighting against the negative impact of climate change. The second part, Ghana used to be called Gold Coast. Why was it called Gold Coast? Simply because from all the superpowers that at that time used to come, because Ghana, you could collect gold in some of those rivers and some of those places, all the way into Mali, where we even know the story of Kanka Musa, who went all the way to the Middle East, demonstrating with its economic power. With all of that history, we want to see what are the monuments and the elements that really reflects that great heritage that really transmitted to this country. The second part is also the living heritage. On the living heritage, we have cultural expressions, living heritage that really demonstrate the richness of the culture of this country. So to make it really short, what I want really just to highlight is that as you look into the heritage of Ghana, you look into the history of Ghana, you look into what remains, and also the history of slave trade and slavery with the Fort Castle. Some of them not really in good shape. We had recently an evaluation mission that just came to assess really the state of conservation of some of the sites. A lot of work that need really to be done on the preservation and management of them. But we think that on the overall, the outstanding universal value of some of these sites, both tangible and intangible heritage, are great. They have an essential role in nurturing both future generation in understanding the greatness of what these empires used to be. And also he gives hope and also confidence to a younger generation that if Ghana was great, Ghana could even be greater.
I understand you've been doing some work on the intangible cultural heritage signs. What are these?
Intangible cultural heritage is basically anything that goes beyond
what we can see and touch.
Well, we can still see it and touch, but that cannot be captured as a building or a physical structure. Or we might maybe call it the immovable heritage, the movable one. Now here, you will see that many of the African cultures are first and foremost oral. So it's more on the expression, whether it's on music, whether it's arts, it's displayed in different forms, and those actually also stays really we call it our traditional knowledges. And that is what we really call intangible. So intangible heritage is mainly those practices that has been transmitted from generation to generations, and also those practices are also in most parts of the world, they're integrated in the school curriculum. The problem for us here in Africa is that many of those traditions are considered as a little bit sometimes not so part of our civilization, or you are uncivilized if you are really investing so much time in those traditional values. What we want now is really to bring them into a part of the curriculum to ensure that a young person, for him to be patriotic, for him to understand and value and cherish his country, he need to learn, first of all, some of those traditional practices. I've lived in Asia for 16 years. You've seen maybe whether it's the Chinese or the Japanese, they always have in their curriculum at least one or two elements, we call them elements, in their curriculum where they have to learn a traditional musical instrument, or it could be a particular melody or a step, some dance steps and things like that. Those becomes really, it speaks volume in their culture and also on their personality. And so when they grow, the love for the country, the passion for their own culture, it makes them really the real true ambassadors for their country and also their culture and their heritage.
As you mentioned curriculum, one of the objectives of UNESCO is the attainment of quality education for all. What's been your assessment of Ghana's educational sector so far?
I think for that one, I just arrived with 8 months. You won't make an assessment of country that have been in existence for for several decades, since the independence, if I may. But I think we're working on it, as we indicated to the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN as a whole, it's not just about UNESCO. It is UNESCO, UNICEF, and many other UN agencies, and also other partners who are non-UN, have been really working closely with the government. We are assessing how we're going to achieve those goals by the 2030. And we are now with less than 6 years. So we're going to evaluate, and it's just a matter of time before I really get a better reading. As you will see, also this year is a year of campaign, and so many information are coming forward. But one thing that I can really say about the education system, I've been really thrilled to see the way this Honorable Dumtu Yao Osie, sorry. Exactly.
Yeah, the education minister.
I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about really is the digitization of education system. I call digitization revolution that this has really brought. There have been a lot of gap. Whether it was the quality of education, whether it was the absence of teachers, you have all the best teachers in the urban areas, and then we go to the remote areas, you don't have teachers, even the quality of them is also questionable. You're talking about the materials, etc. All of those things today, with the ICT, we can now be able really to create a virtual school to enable all the people in the remote area to have access. So I consider that innovating in that approach, bridging the gap that was existing for decades, I think it's already a great achievement. So yes, there remains still some challenges in which we are assessing, but one of the things is that the digitization, the introduction of that dimension into the education system is so revolutionary, and is going in a very short period of time bridge all the loss that we had in several decades. So I would say give us just a few times, and you have seen what AI is doing. It's crazy.
Yes.
And so this is the time, I'll call it the time of Africa. If we miss this revolution, I don't know where else we will be able really to catch up with all the developing world and at the level of the education system in which they're having. Not to be very long, when I arrived in China in the 1987, China was really a real third world country. Today, China is the first economy in the world. Even the education system is quite advanced in comparison to many other universities that we know. But China have done it in less than 30 years. So we can remain confident that with the new technology that's been introduced, it is up to bold leadership to bring in the changes and the transformation that we're looking for.
Now, in achieving quality education, gender equality, sustainable development in general, one of the critical issues is peace and security.
That's right.
You have lived and worked in Mali. You mentioned China, but one of the places that you have lived and worked is Mali. Look at the security situation there. Now, the three members, that's Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, say they are opting out of ECOWAS. How does this threaten the bloc's security and then, by extension, sustainable development?
Those are political decisions. We, as UN, we are we call what you call the neutral. They remain members of the United Nations system, and we have the duty and the responsibility to accompany them. We accompany governments. The governments have their own right to make their choices with their populations. The only position I can say is really the position of the Secretary General in this matter. But for the time being, we have been encouraging for dialogue because you cannot be part of one system without dialoguing. And I think that the dialogue is going on, and the UN is really championing in that dialogue between the Alliance State of Sahel and ECOWAS. But above the groups that have been created, there are populations who are in great need of food security, food security, health, development, educations, and those are the tasks in which we, UN institution, have been really called to help and to lend in. So it doesn't really bring any changes as far as our mandate and our responsibility in accompanying those governments. So we both work in ECOWAS as well as in the Alliance State of Sahel to ensure that the population, especially those the left behind, will have access to water, will have proper health treatment, will have proper education, and especially priority to youth job opportunities, and also the women. One of the things that I've learned in Mali that was very powerful while working there was the fact that some of the towns where terrorists were attacking, one thing we learned, and I think that's when it doesn't really come too much in the media, if you allow me, it might take just a few seconds. We found out, I organized with the Malian government, also with the civil society, several cultural festivals, even in the areas where many countries' ambassadors will not dare to go. I've been there, and I've stayed with the community, and I've celebrated with them. We did not have guards. We did not have a huge army to protect us. You know why? Because some of those kids, whom I call the dropout of school, because Mali have seen over 1,500 schools closed down since 2012, when the terrorist attacks started, up to now. So those kids who were 8, 7, today, they are 18 and 19 or 20. So they are already at the mature age where all these armed groups, drug dealers, migrants, will just rape them and take them and make them really do all those illegal things. So if we can come and address their challenges, their needs, and try really to enable them to earn with dignity their daily life, their income and daily life, I think to bring a difference. So when we were doing the cultural festival, it turns out that when we invite the mothers and the sisters, they are not attacked because they know that their mothers and sisters are there.
Yeah.
They will wait until the event is ended, sometimes 2-3 weeks, then the new attacks will resume. So that already just demonstrates that we can really curb this situation. It's about poverty and also capacity building for our youth.
We wish you all the best in
Thank
your
you.
stay in Ghana, and we'll be in your office for an extensive conversation, maybe after a year of your stay in office. Edmond Bukala is the head for the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization here in Ghana. Let's do some celebrations now. Happy birthday to you, Mami Abna Opuni Boating. Wish you God's protection, guidance, wisdom, love. It's from your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Opuni Boating, and your siblings, Irabna and Nanake. All the best in life. Happy birthday to you, Juliet Jifa Amegashi Viglo. We are proud of you and proud of what you've achieved so far. Go for more and find favor from God and man. From Jones and the squad. Happy birthday to Supergirl Sally. In this new year, we wish you the very best in life. May all your dreams and aspirations come to pass. And to all the people who are celebrating their birthdays to you, we say happy birthday to you. And to all the people who are making or marking major milestones, we say congratulations to you. My name is Lily Mohammed. I did this with Serwaa. Amihere. Tomorrow morning, we are back again with another edition. Thanks to all the people who make this possible. Camera, sound, and lighting, floor, director, and of course, our producers. Have a great day.